Hello. Welcome back to Rebecca's Tea Room. Today, I am going to tell you the story of the first time I tried to leave my psycho ex after we got married. So, we got married in September 11th, actually, very apropos. It was a lovely, lovely Friday in 1998. We had my ex got sick, and he was getting bad medical care. We've later figured out. But in the middle of it, he was prescribed, he couldn't work for a while, for a couple months there, and then he was having debilitating migraines. So he was prescribed amitriptyline, which is an old line antidepressant that can help with migraines. I've used it back in college when I suffered from migraines. I used it. It did work on my migraines. Well, it also worked on him. However, people who have bipolar disorder, if you put them on antidepressants, they become manic. So this is the summer after we got married, and he is put on these antidepressants, and he becomes full-blown manic. In a week's time, I was away for a week with our then 4-year-old and infant, brand new infant, seeing my family of origin. And when I came back, I walked in and all the furniture was pulled away from the walls. The kitchen light fixture was sitting on the table. And I was already very concerned because while I was gone, he had gotten arrested. He was trying to start multiple businesses. He kept trying to talk me into using my diploma. I have a degree, using my diploma to help make a fraudulent one. Just really, really crazy stuff. This is not normally how this man was. Okay. This is not just this was who I was married to. No, not at all. Anyways, so I walk in and I'm a bit stunned, trying to figure out what the hell am I walking into. And he comes out, he had been in the shower and comes out and says to me, "I know what we're going to do to get the car out of the impound." The car had been impounded when he was arrested. And he then proceeds to explain the bank fraud that we are going to engage in order to get the money to get everything set up so we can get the car out of the impound. And I said, "What happened to the money?" Because when I left, there was $3,000 in the bank. And I know we still from that needed to pay some bills and stuff. It wasn't just free money, but there had been money. Well, he had overdrawn the bank checking account by a ridiculous amount of money. And when I said that, he just flipped. He was like, "I did this for you the whole time I was thinking about you. And I, went to the store and I got all this stuff. And every time I spent money, I thought this is for my family." And I'm like, "Oh shit. Okay." This is where I'm starting to think I'm just trying to keep him safe for everybody in this situation. And fortunately, he had stopped taking the medication because he felt so much better. Unfortunately, this caused a massive crash in which he became super, super irritable, super, irate. There was a point where he was yelling at me. I won't go through the whole story. It was all drama, nothing but drama. So at one point, he says to me, "We need to go back down to Chicago," which is where we were originally from. We were up in the Twin Cities when this was happening. We moved up here right after getting married. "We need to go back down to Chicago because I need to get my brother. My family is mistreating him. They're using him for his money, and I'm going to bring him up here and make sure he's treated right." And I said, "That's a great idea. Let's do that. Let's pack real quick. We better hurry up and do that." And I don't remember exactly how it went, because I do remember when I got to my parents' house after dropping him off at his brother's house and driving straight to my parents' house, I didn't have like clothes for people. I grabbed like one outfit or something ridiculous. But I, of course, said, once I got to my parents' house, I called them. I said, I am not coming back with you. There's something wrong. You need to get help. And he was like, whatever, Matt and I are going back. He has a car, blah, 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 and all this and then the other. So a couple days later, so I'm now at my parents' house with an infant, under 3 months old, little tiny infant, and a 4-year-old. And I'm at my parents' house, which is a very large home. And my father takes me and his grandchildren out to lunch. This is Big Tom. Big Tom takes me and his grandchildren out to lunch, and he says to me, you can't stay with me. But I talked to the director of the Union Gospel Mission in downtown Chicago. And this is her name. And you need to take a train and go there and ask for her because they help people like you. That's what he said to me. Now, I was this was 99. So I was like 26 at the time, mid-20s. And I, had been being kept pretty sheltered and didn't know a huge amount about the ways of the world. But even I fucking knew better than to take an infant and and a preschooler into the dirtiest, most dangerous homeless shelter in the Midwest and announce myself whatever. So yeah, I went back to his house with him and pretended like the conversation never happened. The one thing is everybody has a certain tolerance for conflict and confrontation. And so if you were going to kick me out, you were really going to have to force the issue. I'll be like that. Fuck you. So anyways, eventually my ex realized that my family was not going to help me or save me. And before I pulled myself together to reach out to a family friend to see if she would help me out, he said, well, fine, I'll go and I'll talk to the mental health people and blah, blah, blah. And so I came back and he managed to convince some mental health person who I did not talk to that maybe he had a hypomanic episode. Maybe. And, it was one of the reasons why I never pushed the mental health issue for when we were going through our divorce, because he's super, super smart. He used to deliberately work to figure out how to game personality tests and stuff like that. And he just refused to get himself diagnosed. He is bipolar 2. Even when I asked him, I was like, so if I see that you're heading into a hypomanic episode and I tell you hey, you're heading into this, will you listen to me? And he was like, no. So he's not going to get diagnosed if he doesn't want to get diagnosed. And the more he gets pushed into the mental health system, the more he's able to convince them that I'm his perpetrator and he's the victim and all this. It's been very interesting. A couple times he was forced to bring me in, and that was the last time or one of the last times he would see that therapist, because they would be like, excuse me, what the hell is happening here? Because there's no way that you can deal with me and, much less see how he behaves in my presence and come away being like, yeah, she's obviously the problem. It's just not real. So anyways, that's how that went. That was the first time I asked for help getting away from my ex. Maybe next time I'll tell you the second time. There were a bunch of times. This may not, it probably doesn't even count as the first time, but it was the first time after our marriage that I tried to get help, and that's how I wound up stuck. So, anyways, and if you want background on that kind of stuff, if you go on to my YouTube, there is a video called How I Survived My Apocalypse, Part 1 background. And that goes through some of that. So anyways, until the next time I have a crazy story to tell, I'll see y'all later. Bye.